Hello and welcome to this judge's briefing. Firstly, let's point out that we are trying to keep the online experience as near as possible to what we would do in the physical world. We're using the Zoom platform to simulate what happens as much as we can. All judges are issued with the standard paperwork and should fill it in as normal. To make it easier to understand who is where, we are implementing naming procedures where all main role holders will rename themselves as shown here. So Zoom Master will be ZM1, ZM2, Contestants, S for speaker, followed by number, which will be the order in which they're speaking. For table topics, maybe you'll have T by the order in which they're speaking. And then we have the contest chair, CC, the chief judge, CJ, sergeant arms, SAA, or maybe SAR, the ballot counters, B1, B2, the timekeeper, T1, T2, and then to follow that with their names. The judges need to be anonymous, so the judges will only be referred to by J1 to J whatever, and the chief judge will have a way of knowing which of those judges is who, because they have a list, and also, of course, which one is the tiebreaker judge. Judges need to be very careful that they are not able to be identified to save any concern about communication with judges. You are supposed to be anonymous. In a club meeting, you're not anonymous because you're sitting there. Everybody can see you're a judge, but also everybody can see you sitting there, and therefore there cannot be any concerns because it's all out in the open. In Zoom we don't have that, and so we ask you be completely anonymous by changing your name before you connect, by making sure you have no profile picture, and if you do, removing it so you cannot be seen and you cannot be recognized. All judges will be referred to as J1 to J whatever. Text chat is going to be disabled, so there won't be any possibility of any communication via that either. But your webcam will be off and your microphone will be off almost the entire time, so you cannot hear or speak to people. You may decide in your club to have a WhatsApp group for getting messages across to people. That, of course, is up to you. But I would suggest that for a lot of club competitions, that maybe is just making the whole thing too complicated for you. If you are going to have WhatsApp groups, then I suggest you have one for the lead members with the chief judge, the contest chair, the Zoom master and sergeant arms in one WhatsApp group so they can make sure the running is smooth. A separate group for the contestants, so any contestants related messages can be sent out very easily. A separate group for the judges, and then a separate group for the timers. So the contest is going to be similar to a physical contest. The main roles should arrive early and everybody is going to be put into breakout rooms to start with. This is to allow the Zoom master to ensure the security of all the role holders, that they're all named and assigned correctly before the audience gets to see them all together. So the judges have their own separate breakout room which they'll be put in, the timers and ballot counters in another breakout room, all the contestants in another breakout room, and any early joining visitors, guests, audience into a separate breakout room. Once all the main role holders have been accounted for and are all set up in their separate rooms, then the rest of the audience can just come in. This also gives a chance for the chief judge to have a meeting with all the judges to make sure they're happy, and all the other people to make sure they're all happy before the contest starts. Once everything is sorted and we're all ready to go, then the Zoom master is going to close all those breakout rooms and everybody will be dropped into the main room together. So we return to the main meeting room, and you may have a sergeant at arms do an opening if that's your want, or you may have the contest chair take over straight away. But the contest chair will do the official welcome exactly as they would in a physical meeting, do the validation of everybody being briefed, all the paperwork filled in, etc., liaising with the chief judge, maybe having a short public chat with the Chief Judge to confirm those things, exactly as you would normally be. However, all cameras will be off apart from the contest chair, the Chief Judge when they are addressing something, the timekeeper that's using the lights, and any contestant when they are on the stage only. Otherwise, everybody else, cameras off. You may not be so happy with this state of play, but it is done for the simple reason that technically it gets complicated and it gets troublesome if there are lots of people with cameras on. Makes it difficult for contestants to find timekeepers, etc. Makes it difficult for audience to find speakers. So, all cameras off, apart from the main players when they're on the stage. So then we have the humorous speech contest. Contestants will each in turn come to the stage and they will deliver their speech. There will be then 1 minute of silence at the end for the judges to take their notes, exactly as a standard meeting. And during that time, nothing else should be going on. So there's plenty of silence and peace for the judges to do their work and for you to fill in your forms. After all the speakers have finished, there will be a be silent for the judges request by the contest chair, and the judges again, you can get on with writing your notes. But actually, while that's happening, the Zoom master will virtually pick you up and put you into a judge's room. So you're put in a room away from the audience. The audience can then carry on with whatever they want to do, interviews or whatever. They will not be able to disturb you. As the judges, you will be in a room separately and you can get on with your judging. And of course, as you know, the rules say that you have as long as it takes for you to complete your judging. When you have completed your judging, then you will be able to have a conversation with the Chief Judge, confirm that everything's okay, and then you will all turn your backs on your cameras and one by one you can hold up your results for the Chief Judge and the ballot counters to take note. This is preferable to starting sending email messages around. It is easier just to show your results to the camera one by one. And that's how the voting is done. The ballot counters and the Chief Judge will take your votes and they will take the full list of votes from the tiebreaker judge, and when they have all your votes collected, they will then move on to the timekeeper's room to go and have a word with the timekeeper's room and make sure there's no disqualifications there. There is a mid-competition break at this point, assuming that the contest results is not going to be delivered till the end of the meeting. I would suggest that this only starts after the judges have completed their deliberation. So I would expect everybody to be entertained until you, the judges, have finished your deliberation. And then there'll be a break. And I do suggest, whoever you are, that you get up, you walk away from your computer, you go and have a cup of tea, you rest your eyes, get away from your screen for a few minutes before coming back to do the next bit of judging. In the table topics competition, we obviously have the issue that contestants must not hear the question or what the other contestants hear. So they will be put in a breakout room and they will be brought back one by one to do their speech. At the end of each one, there will be that 1 minute of silence for you, the judges, to take your notes again. And at the last contestant, you will again be picked up and sent to another breakout room to do your deliberation. Take as long as you need to finish writing up your notes and creating your scores for then the Chief Judge to come along with the ballot counters and to collect your final votes of your top three and the tiebreakers list as well. Again, what I suggest is that the Chief Judge is going to get you to all face away from the camera and then one at a time hold up your results so the ballot counters and the Chief Judge can take note of those results from you. Once they have those results, then they'll be able to go on to the timekeepers to make sure there are no other issues. Now we're going to have two contest timers running. One's going to be taking the official time, the other one's going to be doing the colours, but they both have the ability to take each other's job if there is a loss. So we do have them backing each other up. But in the normal circumstances, the second timer's records will be used for the scoring. If there are severe technical problems with the system, the Chief Judge will call the things to a halt and will set a new date. So if we can't get the room running, then it's up to the Chief Judge to make the decision that the room cannot run. If too many key people can't get in, whatever reason, it's up to them to close the meeting. The other area we're concerned, of course, is bad connections with contestants, either before or during their speeches. Now, as far as judges are concerned, you judge what you see, and if you can't hear what they're saying, obviously you can't judge that bit. If they have a bad situation and it is difficult for them to communicate and we have a bad loss of signal, it is up to the Chief Judge and the Chief Judge alone to suspend the contest, give the contestant a chance to repair the problem and then to continue. If that happens, the timekeeper will suspend the time when the problem starts and the Chief Judge calls a halt to it, and will then resume the clock when the contestant returns again. And that contestant will get an extra 30 seconds to make up for sorting out the problem on top of their normal time. But the time colours will still appear in the usual place they will be. And if there are repeated problems with a contestant and it's not possible to go on, the Chief Judge will disqualify that contestant. Also, if there are problems with people in something like the table topics competition, the Chief Judge again will have to use their discretion that you can't have somebody in the middle of a table topics competition go away for 5 minutes and then come back and finish their speech. That doesn't sound like it's a fair thing to the other contestants. So people in the table topics competition who have heard the question and have had problems, again, they do risk being disqualified. If we lose other roles, then it's up to the Chief Judge and the contest chair to assign people to cover those roles or to call an end to the meeting. Please, as judges, make sure you've read all the rules, because all the rules still apply. The Chief Judge can disqualify people for breaking the rules and those given in the briefing. Let me though draw your attention to one major rule change, and I will read it out because this is word for word what it says. Contestants must not reference another contestant or a speech presented by another contestant excuse me, from the platform at the same contest in which they are competing. At club level, we think callbacks to other speakers and other content is really clever, and we celebrate it. In these contests, that is not allowed. Referrals, callbacks, whatever you want to call them, referring to other contestants and their content in the same competition is not allowed. That is a disqualification. It's a item you can raise a dispute for. So if there are technical issues, the contestant will be stopped by the contest judge. Only the contest judge can make that decision. The timer will pause the time. The contestant will resolve the issue and will then continue, or they won't resolve the issue and they will be disqualified. The timer will then recommence the timing and will give the colours as normal. The contestant will get an extra 30 seconds grace given to their timing when the final timings are worked out. If they have the problem and stop 3 times, or if they just can't come back, up to the Chief Judge only to make that decision and to disqualify people. Protests can only be made, as usual, can only be made by the contestants and the judges. Nobody else can raise a protest, and the protest can only be for 3 reasons: the eligibility of the person to be in the contest in the first place, originality if they have taken too much content from other people, other sources, and the new rule about referencing other competitors or competitors' content. Protests can be raised to the Chief Judge by any of the judges. Send a message to them either after the speech or before the results are announced. Once the results are announced, that is it. The results are announced, no more protests can be raised. You must raise your protest before then. Alert the Chief Judge, the contest chair. If there is a protest, then the judges will have to vote whether they think the protest is valid. If they do, the contestant will be then asked to make representation. Then the judges will again, by vote of a majority, decide whether the protest is upheld or not, and the action appropriate then will be taken. So apart from that extra reference to competitors' content, the protest system is effectively the same as it's always been. Can I please make a plea to you to give no bias due to the technology used by one speaker over another? They are being told many, many times that they have to make sure that they can be seen and they can be heard, that their gestures can be seen on the camera, that their words can be heard on the microphone. Some technology will be better than others, but it's up to them that you can hear and see them. Apart from that, please do not give any bias to technology. This is a speaking competition, not a geeks tech competition. Your paperwork for you as judges is exactly the same as it would be in a physical competition. Fill in all the scores as shown on the form. Score each contestant as you see them. And we are looking for the results at the end. For most judges, the top 3, and for the tiebreaker judge, we want to know the entire order. But that's the only information we want to see. Please destroy all your paperwork after the results are announced, please. Make sure that you keep to the scores that are given and apply content, delivery and language, the relevant scores that are required on the paperwork. Whether you think the 1, 2, 3 at the end is right or not, it doesn't matter. It is your scores and the way you've interpreted the questions that are given to you on the judge's form that distinguish who is first, second or third. And that is the end of your online technical briefing. Thank you very much for your time.